Shalawam. I'm your brother, Yahawashi, from the branch of GMS, South Carolina Midlands. And before we start off, all praise, honor, and glory belongs to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, HaQadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone who teach and who rule well. And Shalawam unto you hopeful elect, scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. To you I say Shalawam. We're eating our bread defiled among the Gentiles. Alright, I was just leaving from Whole Foods, and man, I shouldn't have to decide between bananas and organic bananas, lemons and organic lemons. It was pissing me off because Esau Edom got his laboratory food, his GMO foods, when it should just be the regular creation of Yahawashi on display, readily and accessible, for us to get. Alright, but instead Esau pushing his Frankenstein food, his lab created seedless watermelons, seedless grapes, when he could just let everything grow, let it grow regularly, when everything was created, the Halalyam, the powers, said that it was good. Everything was good. And, here you got this devil, trying to perfect something that was already perfected, man. Yahawashi already gave the blueprint, and it was created after the blueprint, all right, that the Heavenly Father, set up. Okay, and everything was established through his son, Yahawashi, and, the rest of the Halalyam, man, the powers, man. Okay? And, fast forward to today, Esau being in power, being in rulership, he think that he can make better than what Yahawashi already established on this earth, man. That's why we got to get out of here, man. Okay, that's just one of many reasons to sigh and cry to Yahawashi. One of many reasons to hate this place, man. Okay, you truly have the devil, okay, the deceiver, in rulership, man. Okay, but nonetheless, let me get the scripture. This is Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 13. And the Lord Yahawah Bahasham said, even thus shall the children of Israel, all right, which is so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans, all right, the Lord's chosen people, all right, eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I have driven them. Okay, so as it pertains to what we got to eat here in this place, man, hey, we don't got, businesses, we don't got, control over what's being pushed within these grocery stores, and, how we get our food. We got to go to Esau, going back to the curses of Deuteronomy. We got to go to, this devil for the one of all things. This devil sets up these Frankenstein foods, man. And, we pick the best of the worst, man. Okay, we pick the best of the worst, but even then, Esau Edom could just put the label of organic, all right, natural, on these different foods, and still defile it. It still won't be all the way, how the Lord Yahawashi created it to be, man. Okay, even this devil, you gotta look at the labels on a lot of these foods that's within these grocery stores, because he got these ingredients of pork in them, man. Okay, You know, and that's just an example of our food being defiled among the Gentiles, man. And also how this devil got it set up. You know, let's say you go to like a restaurant, you know, you order something that, you know, had to be put in grease, or, you know, something of that nature, which you want to stay away from greasy foods for the most part. Alright, but let's say you deal with something that has to deal with grease. You know, Esau, Edom using that same, you know, more so than not. Alright, more often than not, using the same grease, you know, that he cook pork in, you know, and you know, he used that and cook with the stuff that don't have pork, man. You know, like chicken, you know, or you know, anything else of that nature. So that's our food being defiled among the Gentiles, you know, where the Lord, you know, have driven us, man, via captivity, you know, the curses, you know, Deuteronomy 28th chapter, man. We are under captivity under Esau, Edom, man, the so-called white man. Okay, so there's just, hey, we got to get up out of here, man. That's why in the book of Micah, I believe the second chapter, if I'm not mistaken, Micah 2:10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, for it is polluted, and it shall destroy you with a sore destruction. All right, even with a sore destruction. Okay, so, you know, this place right here, America, Babylon the Great, you know, the land of our captivity is completely polluted. You know, and that trickles down from, you know, the morale, you know, the things that Esau Edom pushes out to the forefront, you know, as being moral. You know, everything is adverse to the laws of Yahawashi. You know, when it comes to, you know, knowledge, you know, it's supposed to be truth or science, which science means to know, you know, pertaining to truth. You know, this devil ain't giving you no truth, man. All right, especially if it pertains to who you are and, you know, who Yahawashi is, and, you know, how we're supposed to be living. You know, this devil, you know, will pollute the minds of the people, pollute the morale, you know, even down to the food, man, like we're getting into, man. Everything is tainted here, man. Okay, to the women, all right? You know, back in the ancient days, you know, you was getting women that haven't already been defiled, you know, already been, you know, given into a husband. All right, here in Babylon the Great, you got to deal with women that have multiple husbands, 5 to 10 to doing Michael Jordan numbers as far as when it comes to bodies, man. You know, how many men these women dealing with. So they fouled, they defiled, they tainted, they polluted. You know, and these women carrying a lot of different diseases. That's why you gotta be careful, man. You know, scrap it up. You know, scrap it up and, you know, of course, deal with the best of the worst. All right, but everything is polluted and it shall destroy you even with a sore destruction, man. That's why we got to get out of here. This is not our rest, man. Okay? We can't make house. We can't get comfortable here in Babylon the Great, a burning building. Because we know that the Lord is going to ultimately destroy this place, man. Okay? Root all wickedness and evil out of the earth. You know? But to segue into another point, you know, because I was in Whole Foods, and like I said, you know, they got the regular organic fruits. I was mainly looking for fruits and vegetables. All right, and then they had the regular name or whatever you was looking for. You got organic bananas, then you had bananas. You had organic lemons, then you had lemons. You had seedless watermelon. Then you had seeded watermelon. You had seedless grapes. And then you had seeded grapes. So it's like, you know, we shouldn't have to pick between seeded and unseeded or organic or not. You know, everything should just be natural, organic, how the Lord created. But to segue into a different point, prophecy pertaining to the MOTB. When I get to the checkout, the checkout line to ring up my food, you had the device of Amazon One Pay, which when you look that up, it's been around for some time, for a few years now. And you pretty much, I didn't even have to deal with what do you call it? A clerk, a cashier. If I didn't want to, you can go to the many different self-checkout lines, and of course pay for your food by yourself. But dealing with that technology of the Amazon One Pay, you could just swipe your hand, because your hand would be tied to your card. You could swipe your hand, your biometrics being tied to your debit card, and go on about your business. Pay for your groceries that way. A convenience Esau Edom has set up here in Babylon the Great, America, and I believe across the waters as well. All right, but it's a snare. That convenience is a snare because it's getting the people prepped and ready for that MOTB, that RFID, micro C-hip, that digital oil. Okay, that grain of rice, the RFID micro C-hip, the new form of buying and selling that everything is transitioning to. Okay, it's a reason why these countries are setting up central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, and pretty soon here shortly, America gonna have that digital currency. Do away with the FRNs, Federal Reserve notes, paperback money, dollars, and gonna present that device, man, because that's the plan of the wicked elite, the powers that be, the wicked. Okay. And it's gonna bring forth the prophecy of Revelation 13:16 through 17, man. Okay, that no man might be able to buy or sell save he that had the mark. That's the times that we're coming into. All right, and that we warn about, for you Israelites out there, because that's who this message, this gospel, this good news is for, this truth is for. The Lord's people. Okay, mainly the elect. Not to take that device, man, because pertaining to Revelation 14:9 and 10, you'll be destroyed with fire and brimstone, man. Be partaking that lake of fire that the Lord's gonna bring to, Babylon the Great, America, by way of ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missiles, via World War III. And we see that brewing up as far as prophecy is concerned, man. So, everything is set in motion. More and more that we dwell in this place because we have to. We're under captivity, as it reads in Deuteronomy 28-68 chapter, that no man shall buy you. We was going to be sold we was going to go into Egypt again with ships, by way of the cargo slave ships, man, transatlantic slave trade, Southern Kingdom, and, also Northern Kingdom going into captivity as well. When Christopher Colombo and them boys, the Spaniards, came over here, to the Americas, the islands, we fulfilled that prophecy for sure, man. All right, as it reads in Jeremiah 50:33, the children of Israel and the children of Judah, both Northern and Southern Kingdom, were oppressed together. All that held them, refused to let us go. This devil ain't let us go since, man. Okay, we still here, but nonetheless, man, it's gonna take Yahawashi to come and get us up out of here, man. Okay, the whole point. All right, it's gonna take Yahawashi, to fulfill his name, which is a nomen omen, name prediction, to deliver us. He saves, he delivers, man. All right, so that's pretty much it, man. Lord willed us is edifying through the Spirit and through the power of Yahawah Shai, and to you hopeful elect. It's obviously in transit driving, so I wasn't able to get a lot of scriptures, but Lord willed is edifying to the elect. of the house of Israel, nonetheless, man. Okay, stay occupied in prophecy as it reads in the book of Sirach, the 39th chapter, the first verse. Okay, stay occupied in prophecies, man. Okay, because these words of Yahawah according to Isaiah 55 and 11, you know, it's not coming back to the Lord void, man. It's accomplishing that which the Lord pleases, man. We see it. If the Lord wills, edifying to the elect, with that, let's say Shalawam. Shalawam to the hopeful elect.